You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome to this morning's class. We're going to be dealing with IELTS speaking today. So let's start with a quick overview. Okay, quick overview, and then we'll go into the main gist for today. IELTS has four modules. Okay, IELTS has four modules. IELTS stands for International English Language Test System, and the exam has four modules. The first one is called IELTS Listening. Okay, we have IELTS Listening. We have IELTS Reading. Okay, we have IELTS Speaking. Sorry, let me put writing first. We have IELTS Writing, and then we have IELTS Speaking. Okay, so speaking is the part of IELTS that assesses your ability to speak in English in response to questions asked in what? English. So that's basically what IELTS speaking is about. They want to know how well you can what? Talk in English. Okay? The examiners want to know what? They want to know how well you can talk in English. So the way the exam is set is that you are going to be interviewed by an examiner. Okay? You will be what? Interviewed by an what? By an examiner. The examiner will ask you different questions, and that interview session will be recorded. So they're going to record it, and then they will send the recording to some other examiners that will listen and then give you a score based on your responses to the questions. Okay, so you'll be interviewed by an examiner, and the exam will run for about 12 to 15 minutes max. 12 to 15 minutes. So the speaking part of the exam has three parts. There are three parts. Part one is what we call the introduction and general question part, general questions. You understand? That's part one. Part one. Then for part two is what we call the monologue speech. And then part three is what we call the discussion section. Okay, so part one, introduction and general questions. This is where you get questions about yourself. The examiner will ask you questions about yourself, questions about what you do, questions about what you studied, questions about how your secondary school days, primary school days or secondary school days, questions about where you live, about your friends, about your hobbies, about your food, the kind of food you like eating, about dressing, your views about general things, about different aspects of life. That's what happens in part one. Okay. And then after part one, the examiner will move on to part two. For part two, you are going to give a speech for a period of 2 minutes. You will talk for 2 minutes. So before that speech starts, before you start that speech, you will be given 1 minute to prepare. They're going to give you 1 minute to prepare. And then after that preparation time, you will be asked to start talking. And then part three is where you now do discussion. So the discussions in part three will be connected to something that you talked about in part two. Okay, the discussions in part three will be connected to something that you discussed in what? In part two. So that's basically what the exam looks like. Now, when it comes to assessing your speaking, there are four criteria for assessing your speaking. Number one is what we call fluency and coherence. Okay, number one is fluency and coherence. Number two is what we call grammar. Okay, the second criterion is called grammar. The third criterion is called vocabulary. And the fourth criterion is called pronunciation. So these four things will be used, these four elements or these four criteria will be used to assess your speaking. So how do I get a good score? What can I do to ensure that I get a good score in IELTS speaking? To get a good score, you need to pay attention to these four things. So for fluency and coherence, address the question, address the what? The question, and talk at length. Okay, avoid short answers. Ensure that you talk at length. For every question that they ask you, have it in your mind that you need to give about 3 or 4 sentences minimum as your answer. Your answer should be composed of what? 3 or 4 sentences. Talk at length. In some cases, your answers might be even longer than that for some questions. It depends on the question. But no answer should be less than what? 3 or 4 sentences. Somebody says, what if they ask me a yes or no question? Like, okay, do you like your job? That is a yes or no question. If they ask you a yes or no question, then you should tell the examiner the answer, yes, I like my job, and then give reasons. Give 2 or 3 reasons. So for short yes or no questions like that, you need to back up your word, back up your response with reasons. 2 or 3 reasons. Doing that will help you to get a good score in terms of what? Fluency and coherence. The second criterion is called grammar. Grammar involves using good sentence constructions, accurate sentence constructions. Okay, tenses, use tenses correctly. Okay, use plural words, singular and plural words. Use singular and plural words correctly. So many grammar conventions. You need to abide by the conventions of English grammar. It's extremely important. Grammar. That's another very, very important criteria. Some questions will test your ability to use past tense correctly. Some questions will test your ability to use present perfect or present tense correctly. And some will test your ability to use future tense correctly. All those things you must, anytime you hear a question, you must ask yourself, okay, what tenses am I to use here? And make sure you use the right tenses all through your response. Okay? The third criterion is vocabulary. Okay? Use variety. When it comes to getting a good score in terms of vocabulary, you need to use variety of what? Of words. Use words in context. Use the right words at the right time. Okay? Avoid repetition. Avoid unnecessary repetition of words. Okay, you need to avoid unnecessary repetition of words. Use synonyms and paraphrases to express yourself. Okay, that's vocabulary. Okay, and then the last one is pronunciation. You need to pronounce your words. Pronounce your words clearly. Okay, the examiners must be able to hear what you are saying. Remember, I said earlier on that what they are going to record the interview session and they will send it to another examiner. So if the other examiner is listening to your conversation and they can't hear clearly what you are saying, it's going to affect your score. Okay, so you need to pronounce your words clearly. Singular, plural words with S should be pronounced correctly. Okay, past tense words also should be pronounced correctly. Okay, she danced until she got tired. She danced. You see, danced. That ED must be clear. All right. So this is what? This is part of what? Pronunciation. All these 4 criteria will be what? Will be used to deal with your word. Will be used to score you. Fluency and coherence accounts for 25%, grammar 25%, vocabulary 25%, pronunciation 25%. So all of these 4 criteria are equally important. I hope you guys are getting my point. Let me know if you are following me. Let me know who is following me. I want you to drop a message. Drop a message in the Zoom chat. Let me know if you are with me. Let me see who is with me. All right. Thank you very much for that feedback. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Okay. So let's look at some of these questions. So I'm going to take you through some of the questions and I'll try and answer some of them. And then we're going to do a little bit of practice with anybody who is interested. So this is the marker book. This marker book is a very popular book online that people use to practice IELTS speaking. Okay, and it's very good that you have it. I'm going to share the link to the download in the WhatsApp group. Okay, so watch out for it. I'm going to share it with you. So, but the book you have inside the book, you have questions, part one questions, part two questions, part three questions. The ones that you have here, these ones are part one. This is a part two question now. So from the beginning, you can see from page 11 all the way towards the end, you have part one, you have part two and part three questions. After every part two question, you are going to see part three. So look at this now. This is a part two question. Describe a sports event you would like to watch. So tell us what that sports event is, who you want to watch it with, why you want to watch it, and explain how you feel about it. So that's the sport event. Now, look at part three question connected to it. There's a part three question connected to it. Look at it here. What kind of sports events are broadcast on TV or other media in your country? What kind of sports events? Do people in your country enjoy watching football games? Can you see that? So these are the part three questions connected to the what? To this part two question. You can see that the questions are related. So after presenting your speech, so they will give you 2 minutes and 1 minute to prepare for this topic about sports event that you'd like to watch. After preparing for 1 minute, they will ask you to talk. All right. So these are part two questions and part three questions in this marker book from number one to number, let me see where it ends. It's going to probably be 100 and something. Number one to number, okay. These are part one questions. Okay, so part three questions and part two questions in the marker book, they run from number one to number 122. You can see number 122, yeah, that's the last question in the list. And then after that, we now have our what? Our part one question. Part one question. You can see part one question. May I know your full name? How may I address you? And then they move to work or study. What do you do? Do you work or you study? Why did you choose that type of work? So if I ask somebody, what do you do? And the person says, okay, I'm an accountant. Okay, why did you choose to become an accountant? So you give detailed reasons. Remember what I said earlier on that word, your answers must be detailed. So don't say that because they wrote one sentence answer here, you two, you now give one sentence answer. No, you must give detailed answers, give reasons. Okay, so if you say, if the examiner says, is it very interesting? You say, yes, I find it interesting. And one of the things that makes it interesting is that I'm able to adjust my schedule. It gives me a lot of flexibility. I can go to work anytime I want and then attend to tasks that are waiting for me in the office. And then once I finish, I can leave and go and attend to some other things. So the flexibility to me makes it interesting. Number two is the opportunity to make extra income from some duties that we perform at work. So what am I doing there? I am telling the examiner why something is interesting to me. I'm giving extra information. I'm demonstrating what? I'm demonstrating fluency. Okay, fluency. So part one questions. So this is the kind of question you can give to a student. If the examiner asks you and you say that, yes, I am a student, then the person will ask you, what are you studying? Okay, why did you choose that subject or why did you choose that course? Do you like the course or do you like the subject? Okay, so part one questions, they are basically what? Familiarization questions. Okay, look at this next one. This one says what? Where is your hometown? What is the name of your hometown? Is it a big city or a small city? Please describe your hometown a little. These are what? These are part one questions. Questions about your hometown, questions about rules, questions about public places, questions about staying with old people, questions about growing vegetables and fruits, questions about going out, quiet and noisy place, advertisement, crowded place, chatting, friends, okay? Hearts, different types of word, different, all these part one questions. How many do we have in this marker book? Let me see. I'm seeing 120, okay, 30 something, 40, 50, okay, yeah, that's it. 150, 152 questions, 152 part one questions. Somebody says, do you mean that they will ask us all these questions on the exam day? No, they will not ask you all the questions. That's not possible. They can't ask you 152 questions on the exam day. It's not possible. They will only ask you some of the questions. For this part one, for example, maybe they will ask you 5 or 6 questions from the part one. Okay? For the part two, it's just one. And then for the part three, they most likely ask you everything in the part three sets. Okay? So how do I prepare well for this speaking? Number one is to understand the criteria. You understand? I've talked about the criteria already. So understand the criteria that will be used to assess your speaking. And then number two is to practice with the marker book. Practice your speaking skills using this marker book. Okay, get familiar with what? With the different questions in the marker book. Because the interesting thing is this: they used to repeat questions in IELTS speaking. If there's any part of IELTS that you can expect that questions will be repeated, it is IELTS speaking. You understand? They rarely repeat questions in IELTS reading. Rarely, rarely. Sometimes they can repeat questions in IELTS writing. Sometimes it can happen. Sometimes. You understand? But not as often as IELTS speaking. IELTS speaking, they repeat questions a lot. Okay? So if you go through this marker book, you study it, and you familiarize yourself with the questions there, you prepare yourself for the questions there, you will increase your chances of what? Of getting a good score in IELTS speaking. That's just it, basically. You understand? Practicing with the book helps you to what? To become familiar with the different questions in the marker book. Very, very important. Okay? So what I'm going to do now is that I'm just going to answer some of the questions, okay? And just to give you an idea of how to present your answers, how to give your answers. And then we're going to do some practice together. So if you're interested in being interviewed, if you want me to interview you, I want you to indicate, let me know who wants to be interviewed. So let me start with this first set of questions so that you have an idea of how to respond. Of course, we have some responses here in the book, but I'm not going to go with what we have in the book. I'll just give my own answer. All right, so the examiner asks you and says, okay, you're welcome. May I know your full name? So I'm going to tell the person, okay, my name is Temitayo Golden Fingers Worola. And then he says, how may I address you? Okay, you can call me Tayo. You can call me Tayo. Thank you very much. So he says, can I see your ID? I'll show you my ID. He looks at it, he returns the ID to me. And then he says, where do you come from? Well, I am a native of Ekiti. Ekiti State in Nigeria. That's located in the southwestern part of Nigeria. Interestingly, I don't live there, and I've not been there in a very long time. The last time I traveled to the place was maybe when I was in the university. It's been a very long time. I live in another town. Okay. So you most likely will ask me, where do you live in? I'll tell the person I live in Abuja. Abuja is located in the central part of Nigeria. In fact, Abuja is the political capital, is the capital city of Nigeria. That's where the president of the country lives. Okay. And I've been living in Abuja for about 3 to 4 years now. So what am I doing? I am answering the question of what? Where are you from? Plus, where do you live? You see, those two things, somehow, I combine them. All right. So you give detailed response. You give detailed response. Now let's move to the next set of questions. So if the examiner asks you and says, okay, what do you do? Are you a student or do you work? Well, I am currently working, although I'm doing some studies on the side, but the main thing I do now is I work. I work as a graphics designer. I design flyers, I design logos, I design magazines, I design websites, I design different things for businesses, for church organizations, for religious organizations, for NGOs, for individuals that want to set up their businesses or side gigs. So I basically work as a designer, and the bulk of my job is done online using computer. So I get to look at the computer a lot, almost 16 to 17 hours in a day. I can be seated in front of a computer. So what have I done? I talked at length about what I do. Okay? Now look at the next question. Why did you choose to do that type of work? Well, I would say I chose to become a designer because of the flexible nature of the job, the opportunity to also express my creativity. The job gives me the opportunity to express my creativity. The job also allows me to earn a lot of income. I was initially working as a teacher, as a classroom teacher. But along the line, I started developing my skills in designing. And every once in a while, I would take up a job, help somebody to design some things, and the person will pay me a lot. And I realized that after doing 3 or 4 designs, I would have earned as much money as I would earn if I was to work for a month as a classroom teacher. And that was when I decided that, okay, well, I think I need to drop this classroom teaching thing and focus more on designing. So I moved into design because it allowed me to express my creativity, but more importantly, because I was able to earn a lot more money from doing designs for people. So you see the way I gave detailed response. Why did you choose that type of work? I didn't just say I chose it because I liked it. No, I gave reasons. In fact, I basically described the story. Or let me say, I told a story. That's what? That's fluency and coherence. Okay. Do you like your job? Absolutely, I like my job. I like my job because it gives me a lot of flexibility. It gives me the opportunity to also meet people. I work mainly online. I get to meet with lots of people online. People order for designs online, and I get to meet new people from different parts of the country. Sometimes I get some clients from outside my country too. And so the opportunity to interact with people from different backgrounds is something that I appreciate a lot. I wouldn't have been able to do that if I was still working in a classroom. The only people I'll be able to interact with in the classroom will be my students. And to me, that would have been limiting. But then um, I would say design work is, for me, is interesting. So do you like your job? See my response to that. So detailed answers, okay? Detailed answers that show that yes, you have a rich vocabulary. Let's look at another set of questions, another set of part one questions, and I'll go to part two. I saw one question now. Look at this question here. Do you like arts? Well, I would say I'm not really a art aficionado. I don't really appreciate art that much. However, because of the kind of work that I do, I would say I like it from the angle of being the creator, because I do lots of designs for people. Sometimes people will send me pictures and I'll have to do some editing work on those pictures to make them look more attractive. So if you want to ask me whether I like art in terms of consuming it, not really. But in terms of creating artworks, in terms of designing things using different computer programs and web applications, I would say yes, it's something that I enjoy doing. I like it. What of galleries? Do you like visiting galleries? Not really. Galleries are not a thing for me. I prefer to go and watch movies. Well, for me, the place where I live, we don't have too many galleries there. And going to galleries is not something that is common for people in my part of the country. We'd rather go and watch movies or maybe go and play football or something. So I wouldn't say I like visiting galleries per se. Do you want to be an artist? I'm already an artist. I would call myself an artist. Just that I don't use paints, I don't use brush, I don't use canvas. What I use is computer programs. That's what I used to draw things. That's what I used to design things. That's what I used to edit pictures and videos. Do you like modern art or traditional art? Well, I would say I like both, but if I had to pick one, I would go for traditional art. And that's mainly because it helps me to appreciate how people thought and how they came up with beautiful and creative works in the past. Nowadays, it seems easy to come up with creative works because we have lots of tools to use. We have lots of tools to work with. But then when you look at what people designed in the 17th century and the 16th century, you look at paintings of people like Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, you look at buildings designed and constructed, you look at sculptures, you would be fascinated and you would want to ask yourself, how did they come up with things like this? How did they come up? So that's why I'll say traditional arts are more fascinating to me compared to modern arts. So you see the way I'm addressing the question. I'm giving detailed responses. I'm not just dropping short answers. Okay? I'm not just dropping short answers. Now, let me do one part two question and then we're going to move on to another aspect of the class. Let me go to a part two question here. Okay, so look at this question here. It says that what? Describe an unusual but interesting building you would like to visit. You should say where it is, what it looks like, why do you think it's unusual and interesting, and explain why you would like to visit it. Okay, so this question here, I'm coming. I want to show you guys something here. So like I said earlier on, they're going to give us what? They're going to give us 1 minute to prepare for our part two. And then after 1 minute, they will ask us to start talking. So this is during that 1 minute period, your duty is to write things down. Okay? Write down points, write down ideas as to what you want to say. So I'm trying to set my timer here now, and I want to talk for, I'm going to prepare. I'm going to take 1 minute to prepare, and then after 1 minute, I will start talking. Okay, timer start. So, my 1 minute period, where is the building? Okay, an interesting building. Let me call it Cocoa House. Where is it? Ibadan. Cocoa House is Ibadan. It has 25 floors. Okay. Why is it unusual? The floors, the surrounding, the stairs, the businesses operating there. Okay. Why would I love to visit it? View of Ibadan. Shop, souvenir, museum. Okay, time up. 1 minute period has expired. So can you see the notes I've written? I'm going to use these notes to guide myself as I give my word, as I give my 2 minute speech now. Okay, I hope you guys are following me. So let me start. All right, thank you very much, sir. So you asked me to describe an unusual but interesting building I would like to visit. Okay, that building is called Cocoa House. Cocoa House is located in Ibadan. It's located in Ibadan. Ibadan is in the southwestern part of Nigeria. And Cocoa House is particularly famous because it's perhaps, I think it's the tallest building in the city of Ibadan currently. And it has 25 floors. The building is painted brown. I usually see it from the outside. The times that I've passed by the building, I usually see it from the outside. And I remember that when I was young, anytime my dad drove past that area, I would quickly spend some time to count the number of floors. And I remember vividly that the building has 25 floors. There are um, so many businesses that operate in the building. And one reason why I would like to visit the place is that going to the place will give you a view of the city of Ibadan. Because it's a tall building, you'll be able to see so many parts of the city from the top. And then you can shop there. There are some souvenirs you can get from the place. And then I think I heard that there's a museum there also that showcases some historical artifacts from different parts of Nigeria, especially Southwest Nigeria. I would also love to visit the museum. So time is up. So you see the way I've delivered my what's it called? My response. Okay, in about 2 minutes, about 1 minute, 50 something seconds. So basically, you take your time to prepare, write down points. The examiner will give you a piece of paper to write things down. And then when you start talking, you can look at your paper and what? And make reference to whatever is on the paper. And make reference to whatever is on the paper. And then you give your, what's it called? You give your speech. You talk for about what? You talk for about 2 minutes. I hope you guys get my point. So after this part 2 question, we now have some part 3 questions. Okay, look at the part 3 question that we have in the marker book now. So here is the first question is what? Why do some people choose to build houses by themselves? Okay, so if the examiner asks me that, I'll say, okay, well, there are many reasons why people would love to build their own houses themselves. Number one is that it helps to save costs. Okay, if in my country, for example, if you want to buy a building that has already been constructed, it's going to be a lot more costly. It can cost you as much as maybe 200 million naira or 150 million naira, depending on the area. But if you are to build the house yourself, the cost will probably be 30% or 40% of that. So number one, it helps to save cost. Number two, it gives people the opportunity to decide what their house will look like. They will be able to decide on the design, on the layout, and the different facilities that would be there. No other person would decide that for them. Okay, so those 2 reasons I think are the major reasons why people choose to build their houses for themselves. Can you see my response? I gave 2 reasons. Why? Whenever you are asking questions like this, give 2 or 3 reasons to demonstrate what? Fluency. Hope you get my point. Look at the next question. What factors do you consider when choosing a house or an apartment? Well, number one, I consider the location. The building must be in an area where road traffic. So the first thing I'll consider is the location of the building, location of the house or the apartment. The, the building must be in an area where traffic is not heavy. I don't like spending a lot of time in traffic. To me, it's time wasting and it's stressful. I wouldn't want to finish work and then have to face traffic before getting to the house. It doesn't make sense to me. So that's the first thing I'll consider. The second thing I'll consider will be electricity. So in my country, electricity is not particularly stable in the majority of the cities in the country. So I'm going to look for an area where electricity is relatively stable, maybe 15 to 20 hours in a day. And then I would decide on what parts of that area to rent an apartment in. Another thing to consider would be the price, or let me say the cost of the apartment, the cost of renting the apartment, or maybe if I want to purchase the apartment, the cost. I'll look at the cost and the possibility of being able to pay for the building. If I want to buy it, I'll look at the possibility of being able to pay for the building in maybe 3 to 4 years so that I won't have to be paying for too long. So those are the 3 major factors I will consider in choosing an apartment. Okay, so you see the way I'm delivering my responses. I'm giving detailed answers, and that's how you have to do whenever you are doing your work, your IELTS speaking. So to get to this point where you can give detailed answers and responses, you need to be familiar with as many questions as possible, and that's where practice comes in. Practice lots of IELTS speaking questions. Practice with the marker book. Practice with another person who is what's it called? Who is taking the IELTS test. Okay, you should have a study pattern that you practice speaking with or that you discuss IELTS reading with. It helps to boost your preparation. So practice regularly. Okay, you can also look at the responses in the book to give you ideas on what to say. Okay, the idea is not for you to cram these answers here. No, don't cram the answers. Rather, use the responses here to build up your own word, to build up your own answers. Hope you get my point now. So those are things that you need to keep in mind when it comes to what IELTS speaking. All right, so let's see. Is there anybody that wants to be interviewed? Let's do some practice today before we round up. Let me see if I can interview 2 or 3 people before we round up. Who wants to be interviewed? If you want to be interviewed, let me see your comments. Just type and say I am interested. Who wants to be interviewed? Let me know, let me know, let me know. Okay. Chidima. All right. Let's see. Let's unmute Chidima. Chidima, where are you? I can't see you again. Oh. All right, Chidima, are you there? Can you hear me, Chidima?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Good morning to you. How are you doing today?
I can.
All right. So let's do some speaking. Okay. So you're welcome to
Hello.
this interview session. What is your name? My name is Tayo. What is your name?
Hello.
Ah, seems Chidima is not hearing me very well. Seems there's a problem with our network. Okay, while we wait for her to join again, let me just go through some other questions again. Let me do some other questions. So look at this one now. If I want to give a response to this question, look at it. It says that word. Describe a time when you received money as a gift. Okay, money as a gift. You should say when it happened, who gave you the money, why she gave you the money, and explain how he used the money. This one should be how you used the money, how you used the money. All right. So again, like I said, we have 2 minutes to talk. Okay. They will give us 2 minutes to talk. They will give us 1 minute to prepare. And then after 1 minute, they will ask us to start talking. All right. So I'm going to give a response to this in about 2 minutes. So let me start. Okay, I received money from one of my students recently. So I usually train people for IELTS, and one of my students took the exam and she had a very good score. She got band 8.5 overall. And just to celebrate, she sent me, I think around 25,000 naira. And she said I should just to appreciate me for helping her pass the exam. So that was 2 months ago. That was when she sent me the money. And how did I use the money? Well, I took one of my friends out. We went to a restaurant to eat pounded yam. So I actually had been craving pounded yam for some days prior to that day when my student gave me the money. The moment the money entered my account, I just called my friend straight. I said, hey, it's time, oh, money has landed. Let us go and flex and eat pounded yam. I went to that restaurant somewhere in town, and my friend ate. We had some time to talk and catch up on some old discussions, business discussions, and it was fun. And of course, after finishing the yam, we went to a nearby store to buy some things. I bought a book for myself, and I got a bag, not a bag, I think it was a clothing item for my friend also. Of course, I had to add extra money because 25K was not enough for all that. So I had to add extra money to buy a gift for my friend too. So that was how I used the money. So can you see my response to the question? That's about 1 minute, 50 something seconds. Okay. So usually it's recommended that you talk for as much as 2 minutes. In fact, sometimes I tell people talk until the examiner interrupts you. Talk until the examiner interrupts you so that at least you make sure that what you fill up the 2 minutes period that you have for your speech. Hope you get the point. So, all right, let's do interview for Feyikemi Oluwafeyikemi. Sorry, Oluwafikemi. Unmute yourself, Oluwafikemi.
Good morning, sir.
Okay, good morning. How are you doing today?
I'm fine.
All right. So, let's do speaking practice with you. So, my name is Tayo. What is your name? Can I meet you?
My name is Oluwafikemi Rachel Anjorin.
Okay. So, what do you do? Are you a student or do you work?
I'm a nurse. I work in one of the prestigious hospitals in Nigeria, named the University College Hospital. It's located in Ibadan, and Ibadan is part of the southwestern part of Nigeria.
Okay.
I work in
How
the
long how
intensive
long
care
have you
unit.
been working as a nurse?
I graduated in the year 2014, so now I've been working like over 10 years.
Wow, that makes you a senior nurse. So, how would you describe nursing? Are you enjoying it? Do you find it interesting and enjoyable?
Yes, working as a nurse gives me joy because each time I see my patients recovering from their the recovering from the state of being sick to being able to perform what they are unable to do before, it gives me joy.
Okay.
And that has been my dream since I was born.
So let me just add something to that. Recovering from their ailments, AILMENTS. That's a good
Okay,
vocabulary to use there. Do you understand?
okay, sir.
Anytime I see my patients recovering from their ailments,
Mm.
okay, I have a sense of joy and fulfillment. Okay, all right. So, what do you find most challenging about being a nurse?
The major challenges I'm facing as I started practicing as a nurse is the fact that being able to adjust with the family and work, because most time as a married woman, I find it difficult to cope with my family task and work, because sometimes my duty is, and we run shifts a lot, and sometimes when I'm at work, I will have to find someone else to prepare my children for school. And that has been a big challenging period for me.
Okay, okay. All right. So let's talk about relaxation. What do you do to relax after a busy day at work? How do you relax?
Okay, most of the time after getting home from work, the most thing I do is to read my book, as in to read. Sometimes I find reading books as a means of relaxing from a stressful, as in after a stressful day. And sometimes I do listen to music, and I take showers sometimes too to relax my brain.
Okay. So sometimes I listen to music. It's not music, so music. See, there's no S there.
Okay,
Okay, I listen
okay,
to.
sir.
All right. So, do you watch television? Do you also watch television?
Yes, I
What
do.
kind of programs do you enjoy watching on TV?
There are lots of uh, stations I love to watch while anytime I'm off. But the particular one is Telemundo. And they this is because I found interesting movies on that particular station, which give me joys and help me to relax more.
Okay. Which gives me joy. Joy, not joys. You're making
Yeah.
plenty of plural mistakes. So you need to watch out for that too. All right. Okay.
Which give me
All right,
joy.
let's move on to part two of the interview now. I'm going to share a question with you, and I want you to give a short presentation based on the question. I'm going to give you 1 minute to prepare. After 1 minute, I'll ask you to start talking. All right, can you see the question?
Yes.
All right, so I'll give you 1 minute to prepare. Try and write down one or two things, and then after 1 minute, you start talking. All right, are you ready?
Okay, sir.
Okay, so you have 2 minutes for your speech. Your time starts now.
Okay. Thank you, sir. You asked me to describe a person who shows his or her feelings very openly. Okay. I've met different people in my lifetime that are able to show how they feel in public. But today I would like to talk about this particular person. The person is a husband to my aunt. His name is Mr. Daniel. And I know him as my sister's fiancé about 4 years ago when my aunt brought him to our house to introduce him to us as a fiancé. And this man in particular is a nice man. He is tall in complexion and is fair. He is tall in height and is fair in complexion. Why do I think he or she is such a person? I think this person this person, there was a time they both had an argument, and the person and he was able to express his feelings. There was a time he and my sister had an argument, and he was able to express his feelings openly in the presence of everybody in the family, because that time we had a family meeting, whereas where there was a little misunderstanding between the family, and he was able to express how his feelings.
Okay. So you are looks like you are struggling with the question. Why are you struggling with the question?
Yeah.
Eh?
No,
The question is looking hard.
not really.
Okay, so the first thing is this. I think you misinterpreted the question. That's the first thing I will say. Number one, this question is saying that a person who shows his or her feelings, the thing you are describing, it doesn't sound like it's feeling you are describing. What you are describing is opinion. You are describing somebody who can express his opinion. That's what I think you are describing. Because
Okay.
if you're having a family meeting and the person um there's maybe some kind of disagreement or misunderstanding, and the person is able to express his views. Okay, that's the scenario I'm saying here, not feelings. Let me show you, let me tell you what feelings mean. If I say somebody expresses their feelings very openly, what it basically means is that if I like you, I will tell you. If I don't like you, I will tell you. If you have the, what's it called now? If you are, if the person is very, very happy, if the person is happy about something, they are going to express it very, I mean, without any fear of anybody talking about it. If that person is sad, they will express themselves. They will express that feeling of sadness. If the person is angry, they will express that feeling of anger. So when it comes to feelings, you are talking of things like what? Happiness, sadness, anger, displeasure. Displeasure means that I don't like something. And the way the person will say it, you will know that, this person does not like this thing. Displeasure. So you must be able to draw the line between, okay, what am I expressing here? What am I talking about here? Am I talking about somebody that can express his or her feeling, or somebody that can express their opinion? So if you are talking about somebody that can express their feeling, then you must mention that feeling. You must mention two, and this thing says feelings. So you should give us
Okay.
2 or 3 instances where the person expressed a particular feeling. And I've given you the examples of the feeling. Number one is what? Anger. Okay, we have anger, we have joy or happiness, we have sadness. Okay, we can also include displeasure. And that one, another one we can even add is maybe fear, feelings of being afraid. So if you are describing somebody that shows their feeling, then you must tell us what you must have mentioned that feeling. You understand now? But if the question is about somebody that can express their opinions very openly, then okay, what you are saying seems like you are talking about somebody that can express their opinion. That okay, well, they were saying they wanted to do something, 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 but then he felt that okay,
So
that
what of this third point?
what of the words? What
The
of the words?
third point, sir. This, why do you think he or she is such a person?
Why do you
The
think, okay,
third point.
number 3, Abby, why do you think he or she is such a person? That one is
Yes,
you
sir.
now. Okay, so let's assume that the person is someone that expresses their feelings openly. And maybe I've talked about the fact that they get angry, and whenever they're angry about something, they express it. And whenever they are displeased about something, they express it openly. Okay, I would say that, well, I think it's that kind of person because that's how probably he grew up. I didn't really get to meet him until maybe 4 or 5 years ago. So I wouldn't say I know much about his childhood or his background or his family background. But I think if somebody expresses their feelings that way without bothering about what people will think or say, that must have been the way they were brought up. That must have been the way they were raised by their parents. And maybe when they started doing that as a child, their parents did not muzzle them, their parents did not caution them to reduce it or to bring it under control. And so they just grew up to do that often, and then they got used to it. So to me, I think that's probably how they grew up. So um, that's my own answer to that question. Why do you think he's such a person? So they are like that because that's how they grew up. Do you get? So the other one now says what? Explain how you feel about him or her. Well, I don't know how to describe how I feel about him, but I think I would want to be careful anytime I'm with that kind of person. Somebody who's always openly expressing their anger and displeasure about anything. I need to be sure that I'm always doing the right thing, and I always know what I'm doing anytime I am around them so that they will not vent their anger or displeasure at me. I don't want to be a victim of their fitness of anger or rage. So I'll be cautious. I think I should just put it that way. Anytime I'm around them, or maybe anytime I'm addressing issues that concern them, I would be cautious. I will feel cautious about interacting with them. So that's my answer. That's my response to the last two questions. You get my point?
Yes, sir.
So in describing feelings, you must be specific about, okay, what is the feeling? Okay. And you must what? You must be able to give some, if you can describe, if you can come up with a story, well, that will also help to buttress your point and help you to talk for the 2 minutes period. Now, somebody now says that, what if I don't know anybody that has any feeling that they show openly? What should I do? In that case, if you are finding it difficult to come up with to think of somebody that shows their feelings openly, then you are going to need to just come up with a story. Remember that you have 1 minute to prepare. You just quickly write down the story of somebody, and based on what I just said now about feelings, the 6 major types of feelings: anger, displeasure, happiness, sadness, fear. Okay, pick any of those five feelings. You can pick two or three of them because this thing says feelings. That means it's plural. You can pick two of them and use them as the basis for the story that you want to quickly construct. So you have 2 minutes to quickly construct a story. So even if they give you a part two question and it looks like you don't know anybody that fits into that question, or you don't know any place or any situation, some questions will ask you about a place. Some questions will ask you about something that happened somewhere. Let's say you can't think of anything, then you are going to need to what? You are going to need to fabricate a story. You are going to need to come up with a story within the 1 minute preparation time. Quickly plan your story. And then once they ask you to start talking, you then tell your story. So that's how you deal with questions that you are not really familiar with when it comes to part two of IELTS speaking. Okay? Hope you get my point, although African.
Yes, sir.
All right. Any other question? Do you have any other question? Does anybody have any question before we round up? I guess we're going to round up now. We're going to do another speaking practice during our next class. Does anybody have any question? Any questions so far? All right. I guess we can wrap it up on that note. So thank you very much, everybody. We're going to wrap it up on that note. So please, like I said, I'm going to share the marker book with you in the group. I want you to download it and practice with it so that you can get more familiar with speaking questions. Get more familiar with speaking questions. Somebody says, how long does the whole speaking test take? It takes about 15 minutes, 12 to 15 minutes. You understand? It depends on the examiner that you're talking to and the questions they're asking you. So you can run for about 12 minutes or 13 or 14 minutes. You get? It's a very short session. Very short session. Okay, so thank you very much once again, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day.